In this webinar, we're just going to look at configuring the AppV shared cache, which was a new feature in 4.6 and was really targeted at VDI environments where I have lots and lots of virtual machines all using AppV. So rather than having a cache file on each machine, I have one shared cache maybe on each Hyper-V host. And in 4.6 SP1, we can also now use this for remote desktop servers. So the first thing I'm actually going to do, as you can see here, is we have this big cache file. This is on like my main workstation, but it's very big, it's bloated, there could be a lot of stuff in it. So the first thing I want to do is create a nice clean cache file that I can then use for all my clients. So I'm actually going to wipe it away. So I set this state value to 0. See the location in the video there. And I'm going to reboot. And after the reboot, when this machine comes back, the cache file will actually have been wiped away. So the reboot's happened. Now if we actually go and look back on the file system, again this is that shared cache file that's on the machine that's shared between all users of this box. And we're going to take this cache file and then put it in a share so that lots of different operating system instances can use that single cache rather than each having their own local one. So we can see now that cache file is 840K, basically it's blank. So I now need to populate it with all of the applications I want to be available to all of my clients, because this cache is going to become read-only. So I need to make sure everything is in it for all of the applications, or they won't be able to run it. If it's not in this file, it won't be runnable. So I select all and I'm going to do load. And that's actually going to make it go and talk to the AppV server and stream down all of the applications. So it's now populating with content. And we'll let that run. It'll take a little while. See, some of it's finished already. The others it's still chugging along. Once we have this file, what we're actually going to do is copy it to a network location. Now that's a share. Now the thing you have to remember, this is now going to be used by all of the clients configured to use this read-only cache. Maybe like 100 virtual machines. Well, before they had it in their own local storage. So they were the only people using it. So you need to make sure when you use this shared cache, it's on some very performant disk storage so that these clients don't all suffer. Now they're trying to access this one copy of the file that might be on fairly slow disk, so the performance will be very poor. So if you are going to use this shared cache model between multiple OSs, you want to make sure it's very, very high performance disk, and you're probably going to have multiple copies of it, maybe one for each group of VDI VMs. So it's now populated, I've got my cache, and when I actually close it, it's going to grow a little bit. So now all I'm going to do is actually shut this down. And then because it's a virtual machine, I need to take that cache file. Now I can't take it while the OS is up and running and have to sort of boot into safe mode or stop the AppV service. So all I'm actually going to do is that virtual machine has the single VHD. So because we're running 2008 R2, 2008 R2 can actually locally mount VHD drives directly from Disk Manager. So I'm actually going to go into my Disk Manager. And attach that VHD, which clearly I've done before at some point because that was the default. I want it read-only, and then we'll see that's appeared as F. Now I can just navigate to that F drive, go into the program data, Microsoft, application virtualized client, software client, take the FSD file. See, it grew when the OS was shut down. wasn't showing me the true value. I'm now going to create a share. So I create a folder first. So I'm just going to put it on my D drive, my data drive. Just call it app vcache. Paste the file into there. So now, in my environment, this is not a high-performance disk. In fact, this is worse performance than the local hard disk of the VMs. This is just showing you the process. Again, you would want to make sure this is very high performance. This is just a single spindle drive, whereas my virtuals will run on like RAID 10. But I'm copying this. I'm going to now create a share for this folder. And basically, everyone using it needs read permissions. Actually, I'll just disconnect this first. So I'll just go down to the drive, detach. I can start that VM back up now as well. So anyway, back to here, create this share. I'm going to give everyone read permissions, which is the default anyway, and then give domain admins full control, since they're the people that are going to be copying up updated versions. So you have to remember, because this is now read-only shared cache, anytime I want to publish a new application with AppV, I would actually have to go through and update that read-only cache file from that master VM again. So I'd have to download the application from that original client I had and then copy over that cache file so it's available to the clients. If you use read-only cache, if an application isn't in that cache file, the client can't run it. So you need to make sure you keep that up to date. So now I'm one of my clients. Now, this is an existing, I had a little VDI environment. This is existing already. They're already using AppV. Now, I don't think they've ever run an application from it, but basically I need to go through and I'm going to modify the registry to use that read-only cache. Now, if remember that state, so I'm going to do this anyway, so it would wipe away. Again, I don't think I've ever actually used it on this box. Now, I'm going to have to do this on each of my, I've only got 3 VDI VMs, so I'm entering the path for that shared cache file. Now, ideally, if you were doing this, you wouldn't have to go through all of this process. You would have a master VM, before you created your VDI environment, and you would just update it in here. Here, I'm just testing that share, so that works. So you would make this change once, and then all your other VMs would just get these configurations. I'm setting it to read only, and I'm going to set an error log location. But because my VMs already exist, I'm just going through and editing them one at a time. But again, in your environment, hopefully you would set this up ahead of rolling out your VDI, so your master VM would have this configuration in it already. So you wouldn't have to do it on each of them. So then, now if I reboot this, this is actually just the knowledge base article. So I'm walking through these steps. You're probably not going to remember these registry locations. Microsoft has an article just on performing this configuration. Again, I think it's the first time IE9 has actually run on this VM. Yep. Lots of stuff. No. So if you just walk through this, and again, it's got all those registry keys right there. And if you just want to see the file system activity, if you just enable show hidden files, I can then go into the program data on this box. And we'll see. So as you can see, the file's so small, I've never really run anything on AppV here anyway. So doing that state 0 is not going to do a lot, but we'll reboot. Comes back. If we go and check that data again, I'm not expecting to really see anything different because it didn't have really any cash flow anyway. But it's very small. But if I actually launch the application virtualization client, what we should see is all of the packages are already at 100%. So they're already pre-cached because it's actually accessing that shared cache file now, not its own one. Just emulate a log on to be on the safe side. And there we see. So they're all 100%. They're already there. So let's just test one of them launching, just to prove it actually works. So we'll just actually launch Adobe. And again, let's just monitor that. File, make sure it doesn't get bigger. I'm not cheating. So if we launch Adobe, it's bottom right hand corner. There was no streaming down, it's just launching it. And again, it's now accessing that file share to pull from that cache. So again, I'm sure this will show how important it is. If the performance was poor of that I/O, it's going to take a long time to bring down that, which is what we don't want, so it has to be high performance. So it opened, it closed. If I refresh, hasn't changed. So it's now using the shared cache. Thank you.